Hello everybody, welcome back. This is another Anna Chaos. We're living with a toy collector, and today I managed to find one of my old favorite toys, and it is the Star Trek Diamond Select Edition, which is kind of Mego doll-ish. So I want to talk about this series a little bit today. I'm excited. Those of you guys who know me, I am a huge Star Trek fan, specifically Mr. Spock. So I love Mr. Spock. Always have. He's my childhood crush. Love Mr. Spock. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the figure a little bit. So this is the Star Trek Classic EMCE Mr. Spock 8-inch figure by Diamond Select, and this came out in 2007. So if you are probably an old school toy collector, or if you more attentively, if you're a Robot Chicken fan, the TV show, they tend to use Mego style dolls. However, this series was not done by the Mego company. So if anybody ever get a chance, the Mego company is back. So they started back in the 1950s, and at some point the company fell in hard times, and then they kind of came back to life in the last decade or so. So if you want to see what they've been up to, you can go to their webpage. It's actually kind of neat what they got going on in here. But just kind of give you a little bit of history. As you can see, they started in 1954 and they got relaunched back in 2018. However, this specific series is a Mego-like doll, but they're not from the Mego company. They just happen to be in the same style. Now, what's really cool about the figure, and I'm going to show you right here. I never opened mine, so to be the same condition as gentleman's here. So here's the figure. This is pretty much all the ones that they have produced. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures in the series. And you can see right there, there's the 8-inch doll. And what's really cool is that if you wanted to take him out of the card, you can cut the trim. So they actually kind of sealed it together so that way the figure wouldn't spill out in transport. But once you got it in your hands, you can cut it open, and then you can kind of take out the figure, and then you can kind of enjoy the figure however you want it. And I did found another vendor that had the similar figure open, so I don't have to open mine. You can see there's the full figure right there from top to bottom. He does have his little phaser, communicator, and bag, just like the old Mego ones where they were like single color accessories, so they not go very, very crazy with it, with little booties. All right, let me go ahead. There's the back view. So they pretty much replicated the style down to the T. So I thought they did a really good job. Now I did find, as I mentioned before, I don't memorize all the history behind all these toys. I simply, there's already very passionate collectors out there that already done the work for me. So pretty much I try to find these sources. I put them in the comments in the video. And this gentleman right here, this group of folks, they did a really good job. It's called the Toy Collector Guide. And they talk about these figures. They came out between 2008 and 2017. And they pretty much talk right here where, this was founded, EMCE Toys was founded in 2006 by Sphere Rex Micromedia. Technically their intent was to bring back Mego toy-ish figures back to the aisles, and they did. So they pretty much, the Star Trek series was one of the ones that they started with the original series, which is still very popular. And believe it or not, I finally introduced my fiance to the OG Star Trek because he's never seen it. So I'm kind of, exposing him to it, and he's enjoying it quite a bit. So it's a really very safe, popular IP to start with, and they did a really good job. You can see right here, there's the Andorian, there's Captain Kirk, there's Spock, which is one that, Dr. McCoy, the Klingon, as I call the non-ugly forehead Klingons, the OG Klingons, so you got Mr. Spock, the Romulans. And then, so there's several waves in the series. So series 2, so I only got Mr. Spock from series 1 because that's all I really wanted. I didn't want the whole thing. And then series 2 later on had Chekhov. Then they have the Charon. They also have the Keeper, the Gorn. Okay, the Gorn. I might have to get this. The Gorn, Lieutenant Sue, Uhura. And it's actually kind of funny because if you guys know anything about toy figures, on average, especially women and minority figures are really hard to find. They normally end up being like end tailors, and they end up at the discounters because they don't perform as good as their primary cast. Even if they are part of the main cast, for whatever reason, women and minority figures don't perform as well. So right here, then you got Mugato, Scotty, Khan, which is great. And then they have a third series, which I didn't know this until I found this gentleman's page, that it had Captain Pike and the Salt Vampire. I remember that we just passed that episode a little while ago. Mirror, Mirror. I'm not gonna lie, I really want this Mirror, Mirror Spock. I didn't know they make this, so this was excellent. And then you have a little bit more of the TNG later on where you get into, like, you know, Captain Picard and the Borg. And apparently there were an additional couple unproduced figures. So right here, there's an early prototype of the Captain Pike and I believe the nurse right here. Let me see what they say right here. There's the Orion girl. Let me see. There's the Salt Monster, which eventually did get produced. And yeah, Nurse Chapel. That's who that is. And then you have some of the other figures right here. So all in all, this gentleman did a really beautiful job putting this together, and I will provide this information so you guys can read it and enjoy. And like I said, giving him kudos for the hard work that they've done putting this article together. But yeah, all in all, I think this is a fantastic figure. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, so here's the figure in all entirety. As you can see, I never opened mine. But what's really cool is that when you cut them right here, they actually open like a book. So you cut it at the bottom, go to the side, and then kind of open and close. So there's Mr. Spock right there. Really nice hand-stitch figure. Has all the little... yes, I bought this back for $18.69 back in the day. I've had this for a long time. I might have to get myself the Mirror Mirror version. All right. This the whole figure right there. And like I said, I'm not going to take it out of the packaging. I just don't want to. Like I said, Mr. Spock is really dear to me. I love this character. I grew up watching Star Trek, believe it or not, translated in Spanish, which sometimes the translation did not work too well. So it wasn't until I moved to the States in the 90s and I finally learned how to speak English, I was able to rewatch the entirety of the show in English where I understood it, and some of the story actually made sense. So, but I've always been a fan of Mr. Spock, followed by Data. So, and so I'm just a big fan. I just like Spock. So anyway, so let's take a closer look. But with that, guys, thank you for joining me. As I mentioned, I am a huge Star Trek fan, especially Spock. I've always has been since I was a little girl. I'm not much of a Star Wars fan. I just think the story's kind of flat, but that's just my opinion. Do not come and crucify me. It is a taste. I've always loved Star Trek more than Star Wars, and that's just the end of that. I just find them more fascinating, and the world feels a little more fleshed out to me, and I think it's because of how long the series are. It just makes the world feel a little bit more deeper than Star Wars. But again, unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So, but out of all the figures, I do have several Spock figures, but this is my favorite one that I've held on to all these years, and it's Spock. It's Leonard Nimoy. He was a good-looking individual as Spock. He's like the OG version of the guy from the Witcher that I cannot remember his name right now. Henry Cavill. He is the OG Henry Cavill for me. So yeah, so whatever. But anyway, guys, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. I'm trying to get a schedule for more videos. It's just that, again, things have been a little hectic, but I promise I'll try to make more. If you see me stopping for 2 weeks, it's not that I want to stop. It's just that life got busy, and that just comes with being an adult. But anyway, guys, I'll talk to you later. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.